Hey guys, I'm back, finally. Feels so good to be back. Anyway, together we will be creating a system where you can basically tween any floating point value in GameMaker Studio 2. You can choose a number of easing equations and it's very flexible, it's pretty cool. You likely have seen the YouTube video Juice It or Lose It, and basically this whole system helps you achieve this whole juiciness. So it's going to be a multi-part series, but yeah, stick around, you will like it. Intro. What the f***? So this demonstrates the concept very well, what the whole tweening and easing thing is all about. So as you can see here, you have a square, which is just a placeholder for an object, and it moves between 2 points, point A and B, and all of these move exactly 120 steps. But you see, the perception of speed is much different depending on the easing equation that is being used. On the top, you see linear, which is basically just the normal, right? You move the same amount of pixels per step, every step. And the others are ease in, ease out, and ease in out equations. Yeah, quadratic, cubic, and circular. For this example, there are some more, which we will also add. And yeah, you can see ease in means it is slowly easing in. Ease out means it slowly eases out, so it's slow at the end. Ease in out means slow start and slow ending. There are a couple of use cases where you can use one or the other. And you can see at the very bottom, I also added an ease out in function or equation, which is something very interesting, which can be used for several things. It all depends on basically your imagination. Right, so there is a very good site or good website on easing functions, easing equations, which demonstrate all the things. It's, however, for CSS development, so web development basically. But it's a nice cheat sheet for you. Link will be in the description. And basically, this site right here, Robert Penner, is has written a lot of stuff on the subject. So if you want to take an even deeper dive, this is a very good way to start. All right, so let's start the whole project. What I have here, let me drag this up to over to the left side. What we have here is a very simple empty project. I got a basic sprite, which is a placeholder, 16 by 16 pixels. This sprite is attached to an object, which we will use to test the whole thing. And yeah, I placed this in a room. I made a small room. It's just 320 by 180. Yeah. So if we run the project now, this is all we get, this screen right here. Let's simply start by making our life a little bit easier. And let's make it that when we press escape, that the game ends. which I could have done in advance, but yeah, whatever. Right, so let me explain the whole concept behind what we are doing here. So I opened up Photoshop to show you the basic idea and concept and whatever behind all this. So as I said, the whole thing works with floating points. So which is basically every value inside GameMaker Studio that can be used with a point. So 0.2, 1.5, 99.7756. You get the idea. The only thing where it wouldn't work if it's like a true or false kind of situation, right? So if only if 0, 1 and 0, you know, only if those two are accepted, we can't tween anything between those two because it's either the one or the other, right? However, so this wouldn't work. However, in the case of transparency, for example, with the alpha value being anything between 0 and 1, so alpha can also be like 0.5, like half opaque. That would totally be tweenable. So yeah, that would totally work. Right, so the whole idea to this is that we have an object which has a value attached to it, which we want to tween. We would use a script. Basically, it's a function in the shape of a script where we tell what value we want to tween and also what the end value should be. Because yeah, it's starting at the current value, what the end value should be. The duration, how long this tween should take, because it has to calculate all the different values between the starting and the end value, and also the tween type, right? Which is the easing equation which we are going to use. As I said, this is the cool thing about this, that we have the possibility to use several easing equations. And this whole thing right here, this whole script, will then create another object, which is a controller object. And this controller object will take care of the whole calculation of a value and override this value every step until the end value is reached. Then this controller will just self-destruct, destroy itself, and the object has the final tweened value in the end. Well, easy enough, actually. I hope I made sense. If I didn't, then I don't know. Either stop now or keep on looking. You should be fine. And one final thing, which I should have mentioned earlier. So GMS 2.3, GameMaker Studio 2.3 is upon us and will soonish be available. And it has a couple of changes to it. And very likely it will not make this whole system obsolete, but I think I can improve this system once GMS 2.3 is available for everyone. I am not going to bother with the beta. I will wait until it's really available to everyone. And then I will likely post an update video where I will improve on this whole system. Right, okay, then let's start. All right, so we will start by creating the Tweener controller, which will take care of all the tweening. Let's begin with the create event. Very simple. We start with a lifetime. We just set up our values. Basically what we need here. Undefined. Nope. We call it variable. All of these are undefined. These are basically for reference. I'm German. Reference. It is reference, isn't it? Or is it reference? Anyway, so these are for reference value purpose. Anyway, the end variable. And we will set all these undefined. We will set all the undefined variables with our script, which we will write after this. And the owner, because every of these Tweener controllers is of course attached to an object. It has an owner. And what we will also do is, just for debugging purposes, is we will fire a debug message so that we can always see that a tweener is created. Okay, so then let's head over to the step event, and let's create this. So if we don't have the owner, this variable will of course hold the ID of the owner object or owner instance. Then instance destroy. Come on. So because it doesn't make sense to keep the tweener on tweening if the owner is already destroyed, then we just kill this one. So local variable, which is basically just to init and then another, because the tween change equals the end var minus tween start value. So every step we calculate, or not we, but the controller calculates the change that has happened. So now I commented this code a bit so that you can see what is happening. It's kind of self-explanatory, but make this bigger. Sorry. Okay. Right, so now comes the actual tweening, as I just written down there. We look at the duration, and basically if the final time of a duration is reached, then we are done. If not, we keep on tweening. don't have a script yet, but we will. And we want to keep track of how long we are tweening. Because we are setting the variable of our owner, we use the variable string. That looks nicer. Else, because if the tween time is reached, we set the final value. Set. We set it to the end var. And destroy the controller. Oh, simple as this. And every time the lifetime ends. And one final thing, we need a cleanup, which basically is just, again, just for debugging purposes. We show a debug message where we can keep track of that the tweeners are really destroyed at the end of their lifetime. Right. So that's basically the most important part. And now we will write some scripts. So time for the script. I call this tween ext. Yeah, let's properly write this down so that it totally works. Target duration type. So we work with the add param marker, metadata or whatever, like, so the add params. That's so that you later on get the proper variables in the tooltips, which is pretty handy. And what we have to do, which is basically the only thing that's not so intuitive, but it works, it still works very well, is we have to use the variable string. So we enter both the variable and then again as a string. There's no way around this yet. You will see when we get there. Tween type. Oh. Wait, what? Sorry. Sorry, I was not paying attention. So quick trick: if you have to make the same thing over multiple lines, keep pressing and holding the Alt key and mark with the mouse, left press mouse, and then you can do this over several lines of code. Okay, so local variable for the ID because we need this later on. I love working with local variables. I don't know why, but I do. You can use layer or depth depending on if you have like a dedicated layer for controller objects or for everything. We just use depth for the sake, or not the sake, but simplicity for it. 0.0 because it doesn't really matter where it is, and layer depth is 0 as well. And the object we are going to create is the controller tweener. And now basically the magic happens, more or less, so to speak. We put our, why isn't it turning yellow? Just realized, I don't know, but yeah. So we will put our variables, our parameters into the tweener objects. So variable is argument 0. That looks terrible. That looks nicer. Sorry, OCD. And argument 2. Yeah, and that's the most like no, that's not it. We are going to do the tween types, the whole tweening or easing equations, but yeah, that's the thing. Cut. I totally forgot this one to add this line. So add this line because we want, whenever we call this function, to return the ID of the tweener so we can work with this if needed. Right, so yeah, back to where we were. So let's do a cut right here, because the next part will be that we write the whole easing equations. You know, these things. We will basically use their formulas and put them, yeah, into a script. And then the tweener will run these equation scripts. Pretty easy. So see you at part 2.